I mean, I've had my own experiences of being around a certain type of a certain group of men who have exhibit groupthink. So it has an effect on you, as somebody who's just kind of like absorbing it simply just because I'm a woman and I'm the woman in the room.
Melyssa Ford sends shots at Joe Budden, clicks up with Charlamagne, and Joe Budden responds. That's right, this all happened within the last 40 or so minutes. Melyssa Ford just did her podcast with longtime frenemy of Joe Budden, Charlemagne. And in a short excerpt, she talks about how she was working in a room full of men who espouse kind of misogyny and groupthink, and it had a mental effect on her. But Joe Budden would respond and say, there you have it. Now, the reason why I consider that a response is because it's a term that I use a lot on Spaces when anything pops off. And on top of that, it came shortly after Melyssa Ford dropped the episode audio-wise, and then the Joe Budden Clips page posted it on Twitter. So now we have a lot of things evolving, and we need to look back into Melyssa Ford's history on the Joe Budden podcast to understand why these are shots. First of all, she joined the show amidst kind of a downswell in her career, and it provided a lot of visibility. But as she was on the show, she would go through a lot of ups and downs trying to fit in. She was the eye candy, but she didn't want to be the eye candy. She was a beautiful woman. However, whenever she would speak, it would seem like the men in the room, quite honestly, would laugh whenever she made a point or tried to talk about her past in a way that was enlightening or referential, specifically her days as a video vixen.
I had to figure out how to navigate those treacherous waters. And the way that I figured out how to navigate them was I aligned myself with the people in power. The artists didn't have the power. So I aligned myself with director, producer.
Yeah.
And so I kind of made myself untouchable. Aligning.
I'll be aligning too.
With the powerful people. You gotta line it up.
Yes, to protect me.
That was always smart.
There was a storyline that happened almost every month where she would talk about how she was a video vixen and how she used to be one of the top video vixens, and video vixens used to get respect, but then it never went away because of the Corinne Steffens book.
There was a general respect level that once that fucking book came out, it changed. I'm just telling you from living the experience from the inside out. They started to believe the rumors of hushishness and video hub. All we do is get cracked on these video sets.
And you could tell the rest of the cast thought, oh my God, here this chick goes again, rewriting the history of video vixens, because to them, they were just, forces to be acted upon, the hot chicks that rappers used to date and show and parade around. And it always seemed like the podcast kind of had a perception of Melyssa Ford due to interactions or industry rumors, and that's why there was always a deep contrast of how Melyssa Ford perceived herself and how the rest of the cast saw her. Then there was a lot of clashes between Joe Budden and Melyssa Ford that were very creative.
That last breakup, right?
You a hoe.
Yeah, after that little Uber to the Bahamas was over.
Oh, no, I was outside.
I mean,
You thought.
Hey.
It's fine. It's fine, guys. I'm glad to be.
I don't know what it's
You ain't gonna lie, you're a different breed.
And there's no way to know that because you stepped on my mess, quote unquote.
That's true. Well, we still got what we needed.
We got him.
Look,
We got him.
I didn't get what I need. What's up, Mel?
Chilling.
One of them is the idea that she did not like Queen's Flip at all, to the point where Queen's Flip would make her walk off set.
I'm literally saying they're the same. Literally saying they're the same.
And all the men up here take accountability, but the one person never takes accountability, that's a woman. When are we basing our judgment off of?
Are you talking about me? Y'all motherfuckers abuse the shit out of that phrase.
Okay.
Calm down with that.
And it is believed that the ultimatum she gave Joe Budden was, it's either me or Flip. Joe Budden chose not to go with either and wanted to keep them both. But Melyssa Ford said, oh my God, my mental health. And I want to be clear, mental health is a valid reason to leave a podcast. because I could see myself going crazy working with Joe Budden and Flip. I mean, these guys are supreme gaslighters, and so is Mark Lamont Hill. I mean, the guy got on the show, and it looked like he was supposed to be a support system for Melyssa Ford, but eventually that would go away, and he himself would poke fun at her past, but in a much more palatable, intellectual way that went under the radar.
You'd be hard-pressed to find an interview where I didn't come across like I was flirting. Like, you know, if I'm considered like this pinup girl, which I literally was.
Can you then see how back then, in the height of your era, people may not have seen you the way you thought you were being seen, given what you just said?
Oh, he set up.
And the fact that you all
I'm
get
not trying to eat. I'm
trying to get part of the
it's
most.
some fucking tag team shit. It's fucking stupid because
I agree.
I didn't.
Yep.
Nowhere did I say that people regarded me as motherfucking Mother Teresa.
No.
Flirtation doesn't mean that you're a fucking whore.
No. I'm talking persona. I'm talking about, not you. You, like you said, there was a persona that people thought was you, and that's the thing we were trying to say to you, is that there's a way people saw you that
No,
might be
nigga, don't
different.
know.
I got it. I
Listen,
see.
now you-
I see where.
I see the
today.
fuck with that.
I see it.
Something-
Now, as to what may occur, I think everybody on the Joe Budden podcast watching this, and they're recording right now because they record on Tuesdays around 10 o'clock, and don't think it isn't strategic that the episode is dropping when they record. I think they're all probably like, oh, we knew she would do this. We knew she would play victim. And I'm not saying she's playing victim. I'm just saying from the perception of her former co-workers, they probably saw this coming. And let's see if they address it. I suspect that the Joe Budden podcast is waiting until probably the start of the new year for contractual reasons. And then maybe Joe Budden will pay lip service to her exit. There was also another theory thrown around that Joe Budden might move to sue Melyssa Ford for working on a podcast while she exited her contract. And, you know, that might be a breach. Like, you're saying you need to leave for mental health, but here you are quietly recording episodes for Hot and Bothered. Like, when was this recorded? When was this done? Did you mean to tell me that you had been going through a lot of stuff, posting pictures from the hospital, seemingly shoring up the idea that you were going through something, and you were also orchestrating interviews with Charlamagne? Now, Charlamagne appeared to me to just do this episode to look out for, I believe, what is his friend, Melyssa Ford. And I don't think he said anything that was, you know, accusatory or attacking Joe. But the fact that he even did this episode to me indicates that there's a strategy. There's always a strategy. There's always a string attached. And that is exactly what Charlamagne was engaging in. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you feel like this was a ploy, a play, a plot to get at the Joe Budden podcast? Is Melyssa Ford pivoting towards a new direction? And I must say, we got to give Melyssa Ford some credit. Go look at her Spotify page. Look at the amount of plays she's getting on some of her episodes. I'm talking about 400,000 plays, 275,000 plays. And it's more than a lot of the women in her field. Hot and Bothered might be one of the top podcasts for women in comparison to, let's say, someone like Mandy, who has selective ignorance. The plays aren't even registering. They're not registering to the level that she's getting. And I think there's really no other podcast that's solo that's doing that type of number. And I think what we have here is Melyssa Ford might be ready to go on a run. I'm not joking, guys. If she somehow finds a way to get really dynamic guests, people like Charlamagne, people like her friends in the industry, she has a three-pronged attack: podcasters, vixens, and women's health. She interviews the highest people in those fields, and she will be one of the top podcasters in the game. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I really do see potential just looking at those views and also looking at the plays. There's really not too many women in this field, and I think sky's the limit. I know a lot of you are going to be like, damn, Danny, why are you glazing her? Then a lot of people say I be hating. I'm just seeing what's possible. I think Melyssa Ford found a way to finesse Joe Budden. Sky's the limit, and there you have it. But let me know what you think in the comments once again. Oh boy, fourth quarter, And this all comes amidst the turmoil that is facing the Joe Budden podcast. And by that, I mean, they're trying to find ways to get Mona integrated. So they got to be careful with yet another woman co-host. And only time will tell if they are figuring out how to integrate women into the platform, because it seems like the answer is to put Mona around less men, demoting Flip and Imani to Wednesday only. So now Joe Budden faces another co-host who might have taken her value as she stepped off and stepped out. All right, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Follow me on Patreon. There's a lot of content there. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.